What if I told you the toughest fight Harrison Ford faces at 83 is one no whip can crack and no blaster can fix? Hey, I'm Sarah Reed, and I grew up watching Han Solo wisecrack through danger and Indiana Jones run straight into chaos. But tonight, I'm pulling back the curtain because legends don't just live on posters, they live through pain. I spent weeks digging through archives, old interviews, and even pored over transcripts from his 2016 New York speech, and what I found floored me. Yes, he is Han Solo and Indy, but he's also a dad who cried at a podium, a man with 2 divorces behind him, a survivor of a near-fatal plane crash, and an actor who put his body on the line for decades. Now, at nearly 83, he's facing the most universal enemy of all, time. You're watching Golden American Legends, where we honor icons by telling the human story too. Which Harrison Ford role made you a fan first? For me, it was Indy's smirk right before the boulder rolled. Let's start at the beginning, the roles that made him untouchable, so we can understand why the moments that followed hit so hard. Ready? Let's go. I know. 2 little words and the whole theater melted. That's the magic Harrison Ford brought. I still remember the VHS hum of Star Wars nights at my house. He wasn't just acting, he felt like a friend who could fly anything. He went from odd jobs in carpentry to Han Solo in 1977 and Indiana Jones in 1981, and the world changed. Those movies weren't just hits, they rewired pop culture. Raiders alone hauled in around $389 million worldwide. He later earned lifetime honors like the AFI Life Achievement Award because that career didn't just flash, it endured. And the vibe? Rugged charm, dry humor, eyes that say, "Don't worry, kid." It's easy to believe a guy like that can't break or fall or age. But you and I know that's movie light. Real life has sharper edges. That's why I love doing this, tracking the human footprints behind the myth so the legend feels real. Stick with me, because when the camera stopped and the tux went back on the hanger, the man behind those perfect lines had to deal with messy choices, broken hearts, and pain no stunt team can soften. So who was he when the crowd went home? Here's a truth I wish wasn't so common in Hollywood. Fame doesn't guard your heart. Harrison married young, before the lights got bright. Mary Marquardt was his childhood sweetheart. They built a modest life, and they had 2 sons, Ben and Willard. Then Star Wars exploded, and their world shifted. In 1979, the marriage ended in divorce. He found love again with Melissa Matheson, the brilliant screenwriter behind E.T. They married in 1983 and had 2 children, Malcolm and Georgia. But 21 years is a long road under a spotlight. The second marriage ended in 2004. Loss doesn't care how famous you are. In 2010, he married actress Callista Flockhart in Santa Fe, and he later adopted her son Liam. And that's the chapter that's lasted. I read the old clippings and taped interviews, and what stands out is the quiet. He doesn't gossip, he just carries on. Still, 2 divorces leave marks you can't see. The question is, what else was he carrying? Now we step into the most tender part of his life, the kind of pain that doesn't show up on a movie poster. His daughter Georgia began having seizures as a child. Imagine that as a parent, the fear, the not knowing. He and his family searched for answers, and for years, none came. He later said the lack of a diagnosis was devastating. There was a major seizure on a Malibu beach, an ambulance, more questions. Eventually, a specialist friend, Dr. Orrin Davinsky, recognized it, epilepsy. At a 2016 NYU fundraiser, Harrison fought back tears and called Georgia my hero. He added, "I admire a lot of things about her. She's my hero. I love her." Then he shared hope. With the right meds, she had not had a seizure in 8 years. I watched that speech again and again while writing this. The hero, on a stage, voice shaking. Not about a stunt, about his kid. That changes how you see everything that comes next. Being the tough guy looked cool. It also hurt, a lot. Harrison liked to do the work himself, and the camera never tells you what the body pays later. During Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1981, he bruised ribs and tore his right ACL. He kept filming anyway. That limp? Sometimes it wasn't acting. On Temple of Doom in 1984, long hours on elephant rides wrecked his back. It became a herniated disc so severe production paused while he flew for treatment. George Lucas later called Ford's pain incomprehensible. In The Fugitive, he injured ligaments in his leg, and the limp was written into the story. Over years, there were other strains, bumps, and cuts. The man who looked unbreakable was collecting scars like souvenirs. And just when you think he had seen the worst of it, a next chapter slammed shut, literally. And it happened on a set that should have been the safest place in the world.
Picture this. You step through a familiar spaceship doorway, then a steel wall falls. That's what happened to Harrison in 2014 on the Force Awakens set at Pinewood Studios. A hydraulic cargo door on the Millennium Falcon malfunctioned and slammed down, pinning him to the floor. The health and safety executive later said the drive system carried the force of a small car and the incident could have killed somebody. He was badly injured. Doctors repaired a compound ankle fracture with a plate and screws, and filming paused for months while he healed. I combed through the court reports and witness summaries to understand how this even happened. A door, a button, a legend on the ground. Safety rules changed after that case, but that doesn't erase the shock. Here's the thing, sets can be fixed, but what happens when the danger comes from the sky, when you're far from any safety team, and it's just you and the next decision?
March 5, 2015. Clear Los Angeles sky. Harrison Ford, 72, takes off in a 1942 Ryan PT-22. Then the engine coughs. Silence. He turns back. No runway left. He needs a plan now. He glided down to a Beverly Hills golf course near Santa Monica Airport and landed belly first on the grass. The plane clipped a tree and skidded to a halt. First responders said he was alert and conscious, in fair to moderate condition. He had a broken pelvis and a broken ankle. His son Ben tweeted, "Dad is okay. Battered, but okay. He is an incredibly strong man." The image sticks with me. The toughest guy we knew. Quiet in a gurney. Still breathing. Still stubborn. If deep researched Hollywood stories like this speak to you, this is the moment I invite you to subscribe. It helps me keep digging into the human truth behind the legend. Because the next part is not just about bones. It's about memory, fear, and how art can haunt you back. Sometimes a role doesn't just ask you to act, it asks you to relive. That's what happened when Harrison took on Jacob Dutton in the Yellowstone prequel 1923. He later said he noticed 5 or 6 moments in Jacob's story that echoed his own life. Major injuries, close calls, the fear on a loved one's face, scenes that looked like his 2015 crash, only with horses and bullets instead of metal and fuel. He said, "Even when I talk about it now, it emotionally relates to the airplane crash I had and what my wife went through." I've interviewed actors who say roles can heal, and others who say they reopen wounds. For Harrison, it seems to be both. He didn't run from the echoes, he used them. He let the art hold the memory, so he could tell the truth without turning his back on it. That is not just craft, that's courage, and it leads to something even more powerful. Purpose. Some people hide when life hurts. Harrison stepped up to a microphone. At an NYU Faces fundraiser, he told the room, "When you have a loved one who suffers from this disease, it can be devastating. You want to find a way that they can live a comfortable and effective life." He thanked Dr. Oren Davinsky and the foundation that helped Georgia at HuffPost.com. He shared that with the right medication, she had been seizure-free for 8 years. And then he said the line no scriptwriter could improve. "She's my hero." I went back to that clip many times while writing this. It changes the way you read his whole career. The man who once outran a boulder now stands still and fights for families no one sees. That's a different kind of bravery. And in a way, it set him up for the last and hardest battle, the one none of us win, only learn to face. So after the stunts, the scares, and the speeches, what's left? The same thing we all meet if we're lucky: age. Harrison is nearly 83 now, and he still works. But he works smarter. He takes parts that fit his years, like the steady patriarchy of 1923 or the wise, weary therapist in Shrinking. He said he doesn't chase youth. He looks forward, and he adapts. In 2021, while rehearsing for a new Indiana Jones adventure, he injured his shoulder and production reworked the plan. That's not defeat, that's wisdom. He jokes about creaky joints, but the subtext is serious. The body that carried all those heroes now demands respect. And here's the heartbreak tucked inside the grace. The toughness we loved was real. It just isn't endless. Watching him age on screen lets us practice acceptance in our own lives. If Indiana Jones can slow down, it's okay if we do too. The question becomes, what do you do with the time you still have? I think of Harrison's legacy like a double exposure. One frame of pure movie myth, one frame of a man who kept going. The numbers tell part of it, decades of hits and an AFI Life Achievement Award. But the better story is quieter. He survived 2 divorces and kept his family close. He watched a child suffer and chose to advocate. He took hits at work and returned. For us, yes, but also for himself. He climbed out of a broken airplane and did not surrender his sky. That doesn't make him invincible. It makes him human and somehow more heroic. I research these legends because the past is crowded with people we only know in costume. Harrison Ford reminds me that the best costume is honesty. Aging is not a flaw, it's a plot twist, and it can reveal the strongest parts of a person if we let it. When the lights go up and the theater empties, what stays is simple: heart, grit, and the will to keep walking even when it hurts. That's the real legacy. So here we are. We watched a carpenter become Han Solo, an archaeologist outrun doom, a father cry on stage, and a pilot crash and live. We saw doors fall, engines fail, and still the man stood up. But the last challenge is the one we all face: time. And that's why this story matters. It's not just movie history, it's a map for how to keep going. You've been watching Golden American Legends, where we honor the shine and the scars. If this deep dive moved you, please subscribe so you won't miss what's next. Thanks for watching. I'm Sarah Reed, and I'll be here digging into the faces you think you know. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Which part of Harrison Ford's Toonie, his roles, or his real-life battles hits you the hardest, and why? Take a breath. Think about it, then tell me. Because the legend is unforgettable, but the human being behind it, that's where the real story lives.